From Sunset Beach, Hawaii, weighing 267 pounds, the magnificent Muraco.
Why is it they call him magnificent? The man who lifts condominiums off his chest. Anything that's explosive, anything that's exciting, Prince of Darkness, Master of Destruction, perpetrator of violence. Get ready! I'm gonna burn this place down!
Hello, James here, and it's Don Muraco's Magnificent Podcast. I promised Don that this intro would be the shortest ever, so plugs. If you feel the need to follow us on any social media, I'm sure we'll be on there apart from Facebook, and YouTube and my books if you want to buy them, and dontherockmorocco.com for all your signed merchandise. But for now, we're going to be talking about Jimmy Superfly Snuka with... Would you say, Don, that he was your greatest rival, or you were his greatest rival, do you reckon?
Yeah, I would say he was mine. I don't know if I was his, but I guess so, because he's, that cage thing that everybody was covering, then the dive off the top and the way they hyped it and everything. Yeah, I'd have to, He'd have to. I mean, he comes to mind, when people usually ask me about something or mention things, forget baby faces or Ivan Koloff or different times, or even hours with Bob. He would be. Yeah. And then Hulk, but Hulk hadn't turned the corner yet.
We were just speaking beforehand, before we were on air, and basically you had a tale of woe, and I had a tale of I'd been sitting in a hot tub drinking wine for the last few days and had a really nice time. So you're not going, you're not booked in for surgery or anything, are you, for your shoulder?
No. I had I tore the bicep. That was the result of, I guess that's why the rotator got. And I went to see my Morimoto, my orthopedic guy. He said, well, if I do the shoulder, I got to cut the bicep muscle anyway. I said, oh, well. He said, so I don't need to do it. I said, well, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was just telling you, I got to, finally, after all these years, I have a peak on my right bicep. And never having... just having big, thick biceps and never having those, those superstar peeps on. I mean, I finally got, but I can only hold it for about 3 seconds before it starts cramping on me.
Are you going to ask anyone to take a photo of you? Just quick.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I'd have to go to one side. Just one arm.
So. Go on.
Pretty hanging.
I was going to say. So what's going to happen then? So what's sort of the next step?
Nothing.
Medically.
Nothing.
Is it just going to heal itself?
Nothing. Then? I got first week of next month. I got the cardio. I got to go for a full cardio workup. Not that anything's wrong. I'm pretty sure it's just I got a little cough, but I think it's the same thing that I have when I work, because I haven't been working. I've been working out really light. I've been working out light, but this is even lighter than that. So I haven't got. But when I first got pains in my chest, they took. I went there and I'm waiting, and all the docs are kind of walking. And I said, hey, hello, it's on. So they said what I'd done is I tear the fibers on your pec muscles and stuff. All the little fibers that hold it together, and that's not necessarily a tear, but kind of like a pull. So that's the discomfort I feel. So that's a long time, and it's been reoccurring. Either that or heartburn, or there is a heart thing that I'm sure they can remedy real fast with drugs or something. It's like changing spark plugs now, pretty much. So just it's I'm just looking, just to tune up, just to careful, the cardiologist, and then I'll see after that what I'm going to do with my legs, so if I can take the missus on a couple trips off the island, and then able to function, and then I'll do that. I figure by the time next 2 or 3 years, if I can my knees and hips cleaned up a little bit, I can work with it. But we'll see.
Yeah, do you think you're going to be like the bionic Morocco? Are you going to be replaced with metal everywhere, and eventually going to be RoboCop?
Yeah. Well, the one medal I got now has gone bad. Well, it's been a good 10 years anyway, because I have one hip, but I had a shyster lawyer, and he couldn't get, couldn't get so well. My hip deteriorated. My right knee deteriorated as well. So I'm hobbling. The comedy of errors. I like to go up to his office and throw him off the top. But it's the peril of longshore. Getting the right lawyer, right lawyer.
Was he like a union lawyer that was recommended to you, or?
Yeah, well, it was, the name tag. Oh, get to see this guy, Freedom. I said, okay. I'd gone to another guy before that, was pretty good. I actually is paralegal. She took care of me, and she was excellent, and I should have stayed with them, but
Yeah. Well, in hindsight, it's all obvious, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, a million shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah. Never mind. We're going to have you, or the doctor. I'm not going to, but the doctors are going to have you on a surfboard once they replace all the bad stuff.
Yeah. I'm not that optimistic, but that'd be nice. One last dream.
Yeah. Down the pipeline one last time.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll kick off the podcast proper, I suppose, and we're going to be talking about Jimmy Snuka. And this isn't going to be like the Tito Santana one where we frame it as Tito Santana, but I ask you about anything.
About everything but Tito.
Everything but Tito. No, we've actually got a ton of questions all about Jimmy Snuka. And my first one to you is, can you give us a potted history of your first encounters with Jimmy? Because was this pre-wrestling in Dean Ho's gym you met in?
Yeah. We worked out. I told the story about the beer truck and Fuji and his buddy stealing it and taking all the beer.
No, you told me about the boat outboard motor one, not the beer truck, I don't think.
Oh, Dean. Oh, Jimmy used to work out at Dean's, and he drove for Johnson and Busher, classmate of mine, his father, Puno family, and liquor distributor. So Jimmy'd have, those big liquor truck, big, not huge semis, but those big, carry cases of, in those days cases of beer, whiskey, similar to now, but good sized trucks, maybe 3 to 5 tons, not huge trucks, but so he'd go park up on the sidewalk there on Waikiki, just leave the keys inside and go grab a workout for an hour and a half. And Jimmy one day Fuji, his buddy, his pal, they swiped the truck. Took it to the guys, unloaded it all. Guy had a crew of guys, unloaded the truck, and then he was found later. And Jimmy came out, and nobody told him. It wasn't a thing. Snuka was, wasn't part of their crew anyway, but so they just they were playing a rib on him. So, I think he got fired for that.
Oh, really? Blinking it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
But he was, and then the thing about the diving, he used to dive at Waimea Falls. It's right down the road here. It's the big bay where the Macaws, where they first had the giant waves first, and then a bunch of California guys started surfing Waimea Bay right down the road here from my house. And Hawaiian guys, they started surfing Waimea Bay, and it's beautiful, Bali High Bay, and it runs back 2 or 3 miles back and into a nice high, 60, 80 foot waterfall. And way back when, now it's, COVID and all that stuff, but way back when, Jimmy was a cliff diver. For those guys, needs to dive off, because it's a big, deep, fresh water. And he would dive off, I don't know how many, 4 or 5 times a day. Dive, for side money.
Did he do any other like touristy things, like fire dancing or anything like that, or was it just the cliff diving?
I don't know about fire dancing. I know anytime someone drinks a beer, they think they're Elvis. So him and Sivafi and The Rock, all those guys, but he was pretty good. What he did, I don't know what else he did. I know he got that liquor drug. He and his brother grew up by themselves, right around here. No family, no parents. I don't know where they slept. Or, and there's probably, encampments and stuff where they live. That's where he was. I think had a lot of genesis for why, he was so enamored in Jimmy Superfly Snuka. That he came from absolutely nothing.
He was quite the sportsman as well, I believe, in his younger days.
Yeah. Guys down the dock still talk about, or when I was down there, still talk about hitting the baseball, a softball, or a baseball. I don't know if he played with Macho Man Randy Poffo or not in that era, but it would probably be around the same time that, he could have been on a different team or a different league. But I guess he couldn't hit a curve. I know Englishmen don't know, but couldn't hit a curveball.
I thought you could throw a curveball. I didn't know you could hit. Oh, right. So he couldn't react to it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. He could,
mate.
If he got a fastball, he'd launch those things. He could. He was a coordinated guy. He may have done some of the dancing. Sure. He may have done some dancing and stuff for the Samoan Polynesian Cultural Center and stuff. But I'm not, I couldn't swear to it. I would think so. He was bulked up.
Yeah, and the weird fact for me, which is like it's a massive sport here, is snooker, and I didn't think it was pretty much apart from China anywhere else. And that's where he actually got his name, because he was a good snooker player, which for people who don't know...
Good shot, good pull.
Yeah, which...
Him and Orton Jr.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Him and Bobby, I don't know who was better, but yeah, they were both good pool players.
Yeah, I find that so weird that because I've heard people mispronounce Jimmy Snuka as Jimmy Snooker, and I didn't realise that that's actually where he got the surname Snuka from. Was a mispronunciation of snooker, basically.
I didn't know that.
No,
I thought it was something Fijian.
No, apparently so. I might be entirely wrong, but that's what I got through with my my research. I'll move on slightly then, and you tagged up with Jimmy in the AWA when he was actually called Lani Kia. Is it just Kialoa?
Kialoa.
Yeah. What does that mean? Is that a direct translation, or is that just something Hawaiian sounding?
Just something I made up. Well, it's common. There are other names. A lot of other names, but nothing that seemed that would flow with the people on the mainland United States. That they and then Kialoa, and with Aloha and stuff. I figured, and Lonnie. I had no idea. He didn't want that name at all, and I had no, No, I said, well, come up with a name. These different guys, Panui, and the stuff people couldn't pronounce, in the United States. Made the mind by side, Kialoa. I go, oh, Money Kialoa. It was as simple as, so we were a tag team. We worked together in Minneapolis. Got over pretty well. He was a great baby face. Yeah. Looked good.
So you named him.
He had that.
So the name was entirely yours. And who brought him in as well?
Like Demolition.
Yeah.
Who brought him in? Must have been Don Owen, somebody around Portland, Oregon, because he'd gone there and.
So it wasn't Tally Ho then who recommended him?
I don't think so. Cowboy Frankie Lane trained Jimmy in when he broke into business. Cowboy was one of those guys. Paid $500, $2,000. I don't know what it was. We charged him money and took him to the ring down at the Civic Auditorium, and they worked out, and I guess in the fields and stuff, he had places to work out with him. So he's Frankie Lane's the one who got him booked and sent him to Portland, and then he was he was a natural, and then he was with Dutch Savage and those guys that people keep asking questions about, but I was never really that close involved with him, which we'll come to later.
Yeah,
but yeah, And then, he in Portland. So somebody from Portland, Don Owens, or somebody that had Vern's ear. That portion of the country must have got a hold of him.
So, excuse me. I was looking at some of the old observers, and Dave Meltzer said that teaming you two up was meant to be like a Polynesian version of a team called the Flying Redheads, Red Bastine and Billy Red Lions. Was that? I've never heard of that tag team before. Were you ever told to act in a certain way to capitalize on their former popularity or anything?
No, they're a hell of a team, though. I think I'm pretty sure Billy Red Lions was a heck of a worker, a heck of a hand, and Bastine was a master, And I think I saw Billy Red a couple times, but never spent, like I said, I never spent a lot of time with him. I've known him and up to around Toronto area and stuff, and from all things I heard, he was a fine worker. But I know Red was a master. So those two guys that together were probably, but no, we were never hinted or asked or shown to be like Red and Billy Red. No.
Dave Meltzer also contends that the tag team only lasted a couple of months, you and Jimmy, because of some of Jimmy's extracurricular partying ways. Is that true?
No. I left. I had to get out of Minnesota. The cold and the snow, the ex-wife, everything. It driven me nuts. I went to San Francisco to Roy Shires and broke up the team. We probably could have done some business. We got over really hot. I remember we had a heck of a match with Goulet was just turning heel then. He and Bobby Heenan. They booked Bobby Heenan in a tag. This is, good God, 71, 70, So it was really a long time ago when they're using Bobby as a worker, apart from him as well as the manager. And I remember we were in we had a big show in Milwaukee. And they had the popsicle stick, and they're killing me with it. And
popsicle stick? What?
Yeah, they use those big tongue compressors to break your throat.
Do they?
They used to tape up the tongue compressor, use it as a weapon, like Abdullah the Butcher. So only Abdullah used to take blades on it and use them like a sword.
I see. So was it meant to be like it looked like a roll of quarters or
like
something
a gimmick,
like that?
Yeah. Like, kind of thing you guys go, it's in his pants, it's in his pants. And then you have to finish, like the old days, they use it one time in the throat, pow, and it's down. And, it's a finish. Now they use it 3 times for a high spot. And then the babyface gets it back. He uses it on you. And then they small package somebody. I saw a match the other day, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And it was a hell of a match. These guys, they worked their tails off, both of them. They're hard workers. I don't care what you say about Brock Lesnar. He seems to have turned into, good sub for those type of matches. Good performer. And Roman's there, entertaining guy. So I happened to catch it. I tape parts of the matches. So I have to catch boom, all this great work going on. And they finally they come to the finish after 18 suplexes and 7 spears and everything. So they finally come, and it's an old finish. And it was an old finish when I used to do it. But boom, you go, you spin around, you knock the referee out, and things, continue. And so you're somebody comes from the backstage and causes Brock to get knocked out and for me to beat him. So that, and I saw that, and I said, boy, these guys, they're as many things as they do, all the stuff they do. Because I was watching also a couple weeks ago, because they had Orton and AJ Styles, two great performers, and I looked and he comes off the rope with that flying elbow. Randy turns, catches him in that thingy, the RKO thing he does. they'd done that finish 3 months before that on TV. I'm going, my God, really? Who's booking? I mean, all these great matches and no insight to at least change the finish, or come up with it was exactly this. Exactly when I think when they've used AJ to build up guys. I know we're off the Snuka topic, but we used AJ to build up guys for a long time. I think they were building up Randy for Bray Wyatt for the Fiend, maybe. Was when Randy was just killing everybody, going through the locker room and the rings and kicking when he kicked Flair in the face and hurt somebody. It was just beating the hell. So they put him. He matched up with AJ. And they used that boom, and then again, just the other couple weeks ago, I watched some of those matches. I'll sit and watch because they slow down a lot in their area, and I'll be goddamn if it wasn't the same finish, exact same finish. Oh my God, that's a TV production. Miss.
Yeah, it's the problem. It's the problem of having not enough wrestlers in too many hours, isn't it? It kills the creativity, as you said once, didn't it?
Yeah. Repetition.
Do you know what? Right, just because I'm going to have to ask this. This is probably more of a Memphis thing, but did anyone you wrestle ever use the donut hole on you?
No.
I think it's either the donut hole or the donut hold. I can't remember if it's got a D on the end. But basically, it's the same as having something in your hand and then hitting them with it, but you've actually got nothing. But you just basically pantomime like you're holding something. And then the problem came where you'd hide it somewhere else, and then the ref couldn't find it. But since there wasn't actually anything there, sometimes the wrestler would actually forget where they put the fake object on their body. It could be in the knee pad, it could be in the trunks. And after so long, they might forget it, and then nothing like that ever.
No. Maybe, Secluna used to, and a couple guys, Rocky Montero would, have the thing in their pants, and, they would use it maybe for a quick heat or something, you'd sell it, but I don't think I ever used it for a finish or anything.
So you've never had literally nothing in your hand and pretended that you did?
No, I don't think so. I used whatever I could, wadded up paper to blind somebody's eyes, newspaper, or, popcorn boxes, paper and plastic cups to blind guys, or rub it in their face. But
the old days when you didn't have to kill each other.
Yeah, and I'd have to suplex them off the top rope.
Yeah. Right, I shall move back to Jimmy then, although it's not really Jimmy, because Jimmy's in Portland for years, and then he goes to Georgia in his first national exposure, and he feuds with, among other people, Kevin Von Erich, and that got me thinking, would you ever have come across the Von Erichs, even maybe Japan or somewhere?
I met David in Hawaii once. He on his way to Japan, and I did a couple handshakes to Kerry, and I think Kevin. I met Kevin, but I'm not sure. But Kerry, I shook hands with.
Yeah. Kevin lives on the island, doesn't he? Or he did.
I was in Texas for a few months, but they were young, and I think David was still too young then. Yeah, before, so Texas would have to be 73-ish. So they were really young. 73.
How was Fritz?
He was okay, never come in contact with him. He wasn't Angelo Mosca. Angelo Mosca used to mock him, but the rest of the guys didn't come. He pretty much knew where everybody stood and where everybody was coming from. I was cast off from Florida. I was like floundering after my first divorce, only divorce.
Yeah, nice save there, Don. Nice save.
Yeah.
I will. I'll move on. So obviously, Snuka. He goes to the Carolinas for a bit, feuds with Ric Flair for the title, and then some title, and then Jimmy's in the WWF in 1982. Now he was a heel beforehand, but why? With how he looks and his charisma and everything like that, why would you bring Jimmy Snuka in as a heel?
I don't know if he switched. He was in the Carolinas as a heel. He had shoes and that target thing, and his hair was out, and he was doing a lot of his work, well, naturally in Japan. Ian Brody were Bruiser Brody were close friends. So I don't know if he was doing, I don't know if he switched when he left the Carolinas or not. But he was that, obviously that career. He and Ray Stevens were from what I understand, he and Ray were tag partners in the Carolinas. Now, if they split up or whatever, after had a feud, or him and Flair broke. I don't know much about his career there, but yeah, I know he came from, and why. So I guess he was coming in with the shoes and the tars, the one thing over his shoulder, and the hair, which you always had the hair anyway. But yeah, I don't know. That was that was Vince Senior. I think was still calling the shots then. So yeah, that would be Vince Senior's call to bring him in as a heel.
When you see, I'm not saying it's like a jealousy thing or anything like that, but when you see someone coming in who's clearly going to be positioned quite high up, and he's a bad guy like yourself, do you sort of look at him and assess him, and do you see where he's at? Basically, do you take a vested interest in people who are coming in?
Sure, probably, yeah. Everybody, it was a competitive performance thing. Most of the guys, 80 to 90% of the guys would try and prove their mettle in the ring and with crowds and results and stuff like that. And then there was the 10 to 20% that would run to the office, and be brown nosing, have suggestions or talking bad about one other guy. I don't know what they'd say, but there'd be a percentage of guys, like we mentioned Dutch Savage earlier, getting in heat in Oregon later, that he was reputed, alleged one of those type of guys. So I forgot where I was going with that.
It's sort of a competition with main event caliber wrestlers coming in.
Oh yeah, sure. Boy, pretty much you go around and you're selling your own goods. And it was a territory day before you went to before New York. Before the conglomerate that it is. So you'd go in, after a point, there's a point where I was just a baby face and trying to get booked, in Florida, trying to get booked here. And then there was a time when I had my rap down and my image and what I wanted to be, and was going to, and would call, I'm a heel, and I'd like to, opportunity to, to run some programs and, be part of, be part of the production there. I got a lot to offer you.
With Jimmy, it seems pretty evident pretty quickly that fans have got no interest in booing Jimmy at all, even with Albano in his corner. And apparently in Philly and a couple of other places, when Jimmy was facing Bob and Arnold Skoland were getting booed because they were so into Jimmy. Do you? I don't suppose you remember any fallout from that. I mean, obviously, they turned him good guy quite soon afterwards.
That was my switch when I was rotating back and forth for a couple months there. But out of that, you have to play in mind too. The Samoans laid a good foundation as far as respect came, because they were, they were kind of following the Crusher Bruiser as one of those kind of tag teams. Crusher, Bruiser, Samoans, Road Warriors, Power, Demolition, My Creation, all these different super tag teams, legendary tag teams of their own particular era. So the Samoans had laid down a groundwork of respect and the people believed in them and believed. So I guess Jimmy probably rode that wave, and maybe a lot of people haven't connected it to that, but Samoans were big ugly monsters. When they first that hair, the nose, the no shoes, and 300 pounds and flying around. Samoans were a couple of bad, ugly dudes. And then, people, there's a fear, a respect, naturally a hatred.
It's funny. It's funny, isn't it? That it's funny how they expected people to boo Jimmy Snuka when he had a great body and he was a high flyer as well, and he was a crowd pleaser in the ring. So I'm not quite sure why they thought that he would be loathed.
His roots were I don't know. The office always knows better. It is. The management's got the right answer. You're an idiot. His roots were as a baby face. I mean, it didn't take some Oscar-winning director of casting to realize that this guy, bang,
Yeah, he's clearly the hero, isn't he? He's clearly going to be cast as the hero.
He's Dusty Rhodes with a body. Dusty Rhodes that can't talk with a body, with a great body. So Dusty had the great interviews and Snuka the great body and the great work.
So soon afterwards, Albano is gone as his manager, and Buddy Rogers, the Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers replaces him. And why didn't Buddy Rogers last very long in the WWF when he returned briefly?
Could have been one of those lawsuit stories that you texted me previously. I don't know. He was there and he was gone. And then I had a couple matches. That's my famous meatball era, meatball sub era. With me and Lou, and we had a couple matches. And then all of a sudden it was Jimmy and Skolin. Jimmy and Skolin. And Buddy was gone. Maybe it was the hip thing. Buddy was kind of famous for walking, going somewhere, taking a bump, and laying his, coming out with a, operation or at least a suit job off of that. So Buddy was a sharp dude, man.
He wore a very expensive suit, so is that how he afforded him?
He had this big canary diamond ring, pinky ring, and it was canary yellow. It was just beautiful. First time I knew him from Florida was I went to the Playboy Club in Atlantic City, where he was a host there with all these other celebrities, and he's walking down. And the Buddy Rogers had the stroll. And no matter what he was doing, he had that strut, like Vince does. And and the canary yellow pinky ring, and that's Buddy Rogers. But yeah, I think it could have been a sue job. The sue job. He disappeared out of Florida too. The first time I met him. In my era, it was when Curtis and Mark Lewin and those guys, the Buddy Rogers was king. They're the Gotchas and all these other guys, and the shooters and the great Rockas and everything else. But the businessmen, the guys who are trying to steal territories and stuff, like Buddy Rogers was the man, and he had his little group he used to take around with him.
I'll tell you what, actually, that's exactly what I was going to ask, but I'll tell you this. I interviewed Dr. Tom Pritchard last week, and he could have gone on for an hour just talking about Mark Lewin stories, when he was a kid, and said he'd go and train with him, but before they train with him, they'd go to his house or apartment or whatever and get absolutely loaded on whatever they got loaded on, and then Mark would then go to the gym and just crank out the reps like he was absolutely fine.
Spent a lot of time with the Maniac. I was down first. I met him first in Vancouver when I first started in the business. And I didn't know that he and Curtis were partners the way they were with Australia and Jim Barnett. And then after I got out of Florida, I think the first time, one of the times, I went to New Zealand for he and I was, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I was the baby face. They started off with Curtis and Lewin feuding, then the belt would go on to Curtis and a new baby face would come in, which would be me, because I just run it on bare bones, the minimum talent, just basically the local talent that lots of times couldn't work at all. And so I feuded with Curtis for 4 to 6 months. Then Rick Martel followed me. And then Mark was always standing in the wings there waiting to, so they had a formula that was going down. Yeah, Mark Lewin, yeah, he was cool. Spent a lot of time. He married a Japanese wife after his first couple, and he got left her for a girl from Singapore, and so he, a lot of time Asia, Singapore, Japan, like Curtis, he was one of those. Skippy Jackson, he what the hell's the guy's name? Was a famous Danny McShane, real badass in the 50s. Always, Texas, Ohio, all over the United States, but a guy that was always involved in heavy feuds and really monopolized the wrestling, the magazines. He married Mark's sister, and he stopped and he broke Mark into the business at, I think, 15 or 16. Skippy Jackson. Skippy Jackson from Buffalo, New York, I think it was. And then he, by the time he was 19, he was main eventing the garden matches. And Curtis would, lay, yes, Mark Lewin had his own dressing room in Madison Square Garden. Vince McMahon used to walk to see him, they just blow smoke up each other all the time, And Mark would just, yes, it's true. Yes, it's, acknowledge his greatness. But they were fun. They ran a great territory. Fun to be in.
Where is Mark now? Because he's still alive, isn't he? He must be like in his mid-80s.
Yeah, he's up around, I heard, he's up around Seattle. One of those islands. He's up around by Kevin Sullivan. Yeah, it's all rumors. I live on rumors. I'm here in Hawaii, isolated more than anybody. But his ex-wife, Taruko, and his son, Sydney, was here from here. And she talks with Curtis's wife. And he's up around, and I heard that from other people that Sullivan just happened to run into him. They live near one another, and they're all partners.
I would have thought Sullivan would be, Boston still. How come he's moved on the other side of the country?
Well, I heard he's down around Daytona, down around there for a while, with Humperdinck when Humperdinck was down there, and then. How he ended up in Washington, I have no idea. I don't keep tabs with Kevin, but I know about Mark because of family acquaintances around here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If we could ever get Mark on this show and reunite you two, man, the stories is like because I the reason why Dr. Tom mentioned him was because I asked who was the best gimmick in wrestling. And Dr. Tom said Mark Lewin because basically he is a gimmick. He is a living gimmick, and he's he's just 24/7. Just an absolute animal.
Yeah. Good living though with those guys. Eat well, fine restaurants, fine wine. Curtis before Andre the Giant, there was Curtis with his 4 to 5 bottle wine lunches. We used to be on the road, come back to Wellington on a Tuesday, I think, and he lived up in his house at Disneyland, a colorful little house they had in New Zealand, like a bunch of the ring guy, Lord of the Rings places. And he'd sit up there and drink those boxes of wine all day. come to Wellington Arena and beat the hell out of me. Boot Blitz and everything else. He was friends with Snuka too. Back to Jimmy.
Back to Jimmy then. Just before we go to Jimmy, I wanted to ask you this as well. With Buddy Rogers, and you alluded to it, and I alluded to it in the script. What was Buddy Rogers' modus operandi as far as going into a new territory when he was active? Because he used to take sort of a little cadre, a little mafia of his closest wrestler friends, and basically take over the territory.
I have a rough idea. There was a Billy Darnell and a couple guys I can't think of offhand that he had. That would be, and he'd send them in. They would get heat, and they were evidently, they were good hands, all fine workers. They come in with their program and kind of, take over or the territory and get their heat and everything else. Then Buddy would come in and boom, just clean house, get stretchered out and come back, or do something where he would be the man and he'd be taking the belt, or he would be defending his version of the world championship or whatever it is. But he had a little cruise where he traveled around, that he would set up guys and, I don't know how many guys. The name Billy Darnell comes to my mind, and a couple other guys, if I saw it on a card, I would know. But it was well ahead of my day. But I know he was, and the promoters would go for it because they're going to make money. It's not only Rogers is charging, and he's charging for his guys he's bringing them, but you're making your buildings are full too. So why not put up with the crap for a while? Then you're going to go when he leaves. Boom, we burned it down. You got to start back from step one. But it's for the time there, you're able to bank some. Normally you're able to bank some good cash.
Yeah, it's a good little boost. I'm gonna move on. We're gonna move on, and shortly after Snuka ditched Albano, Ernie Roth, the Grand Wizard, who was your manager, stops being your manager, and then you go to Albano. What was the reason for Grand Wizard not being your manager anymore, and what did he do sort of in that last year of his life between the heart attack that killed him and basically not being your manager anymore? Did he stay with the company in some respect, or did he just disappear?
Yeah, I think he just stayed down in Florida. He wasn't. Maybe once Junior came in, he didn't go anywhere, and he was he was like a personal secretary to Vince Senior, and he did a lot of Vince Senior's work. People know he was gay, and he had a partner that was down in Florida, ex-wrestler. And, good guy.
So was it basically just like Junior clear out then? Because he kept Albano, he kept a few, he kept Gorilla, he kept Skoland. Why not the Wiz?
Oh, God, I don't know. Was Blasky was there?
Yeah,
well, the Wiz was fragile. His health, I think, was a contributing factor to that. He brought in managers, Slick and Elizabeth and Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart. So it wasn't the end of managers. I guess, he needed a manager that could get slapped around every once in a while. That wasn't going to happen with Ernie. He just, he could march and, he could talk like hell on the TV. But I think he got fragile. He passed away soon after I changed his stuff.
Yeah, I actually wrote down the date, October the 12th, 1983. So it's 5 days before the cage match that we're going to be seeing in a bit. But before, obviously, we're going to talk about that later. But I didn't realize how close you and Ernie were, because he was the godfather to one of your kids as well.
Yeah, my daughter, my daughter. I know him from he was everybody's wife. I heard a Patera interview, and King Curtis's wife Jeanette, and my wife. Everybody. He got very. He got very close guy, very personable guy. And all business and very likable fellow.
Did he turn up to the christening with the turban and the glasses?
No, he wasn't able to come up. Tonga, King Haku stood in. Haku stood in for him there.
Ah, dearie me. Well, what a person to stand in for him as well.
He was. I think that's when he was ill already. He was. When was Kelly born? October. She's in October 5. So it was right around the time he was ill there.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the big storyline that kicked off. The summer of Snuka and Muraco, and it was the issue where you spat at Snuka. Talk about the whole thing from beginning to end. Who came up with it and how it was worked out, and how do you think it went?
I came back, being out a few months, and then I got the belt, the IC title back from Pedro again, and I that beach bump thing somehow I don't know where it started, who started it, how it started, but thank God above, that beach bump they went with that beach bump thing, like it was on the East Coast thing and then it carried over all the way to California, which was funny. Because when I got to LA and stuff like that, they're still calling me a beach bum. So, but that's something like it was just something that people on the East Coast just they didn't like beach beach boys or beach bums or something, or had so they did that, and Jimmy was coming off his feud with Albano and Ray Stevens, where somebody double crossed Jimmy and. Et cetera. The money, Albano was stealing Jimmy's money or something like that, and Ray got involved. And so they were coming out, and I had good fair heat as a heel champion. And there was kind of, there was a this is back in the day too. There was an urgency or a wanting for the for him to, hook up Intercontinental title and for he and I, because, Slaughter, I don't know if it's Slaughter, the other heels were different type of heels, the big old kind of New York heel. Valentine wasn't around. I don't know if Slaughter was in or out, but, their personalities and our styles matched. But the Senior kind of threw him a curveball and stuck Rocky Johnson in there. Where Rocky, pinned me on TV, but Lou had, I take my nose itches. That's why I'm not doing coke or anything. So,
a likely story.
Lou distracted the referee. Well, Rocky had me pinned, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I finally kicked out. And so I went around for about 3, 4, 5 months with Rocky. And never beating him, disqualification and count outs, and never pinned him, never submitted him, never nothing, never got my hand, kept the title. Most of the time didn't even get my hand raised. I had that kind of heat as a heel. So I could, I didn't have to beat anybody, and I was just getting beat up every night. So, and I didn't have to, and so, and I kind of, so they were able, rather than, like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, they come back and boom, before you know it, they've been apart. And right first thing instead of anticipation, you give the people exactly what they want. At the instant, it's just like adding Kool-Aid to the water. It's just like instant angle without no. You don't need preparation, but it would be nice, to show a little. So anyway, we did a little something, and. I forget what it was. Rogers had before Piper's Pit. Buddy Rogers' corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I was guest Intercontinental Champion. I was guest on Buddy Rogers' thing. It's Allentown TV and stuff. And he goes walking to the ring while I said, what the hell? What's this guy, walking while I'm, my interview, my time, and the show off's walking to the ring, trying to steal, my thunder when how great I am, yada, yada, yada. Heel rap, all the way down the line. What's he doing? Here we go, boom. He says something to me. I spit on him. And he does, when they weren't doing the dives over the top rope every 5 minutes either. So I'll Mexican dive over to the top rope. He come. The only thing I should have just worn about that, I should have just worn underwear. I was wrestling in under matches. So he ripped all my coat, my shirt, my pants. He just ripped all my clothes off of me. All I had was a belt and hanging, but I had my wrestling tights underneath because I had another match to do. So I could see that. And I think if I'd been in I would have been even more effective. If I'd just been in some under, but aside from that, that's just a directional flaw. And then so we boom, and that's it. We got it, and I got a microphone or something, and I hit him across the head. He got color on TV, and they put the big X across the TV where he's bleeding. They wouldn't, which gave more effect actually to all in those days. They come to boom, the band cannot see, and off we went, to do our trilogy around the territory.
How much preparation? So obviously back in the day, so few of these. I hate to use the wrestling vernacular, but I can't think of another word. So so few of these angles would happen a year. How much like practice or preparation or mulling over, the finer details were there, or was it just basically you spit, he rips your suit off, see you later?
Kind of. I mean, there wasn't a lot. Wasn't. We knew it was coming down, and what we were gonna do, and what was gonna happen. But do we put time into it? No, I don't think we put into the particular, that night or that day at TV, because that's when we did all the TVs and stuff. We're doing the interview. It was still consistent. We're doing interviews for around the country, in Canada and all the other places that we went to. So it was consistent at that point. So, probably just over the course of that day that we would map things out and kind of, throw some ideas around before the final product.
This sort of brings me to my next point, actually, is Jimmy Snuka's promo. So I more remember Mick Foley doing the impression of Snuka of this, but I have seen the original as well, where I think it's after he jumps over the ropes onto you, and then he's talking about it. I think he might be sat in the arena in the stadium, and he says something to the effect of, "I'm not through with you yet, Don Muraco," like that, and then Mick that made Mick a fan for life and everything. But this is more on Jimmy's promos. What was your favourite of his interviews that he ever gave, and did you understand any of them?
Well, I knew Kimmel well, so I could understand them. They were, in that area with that demographic, you had Pedro, and then Bruno was well spoken, but you wouldn't. So you're foreigners. Your Statue of Liberty. Give us your humble, your weak, your impoverished, whatever. That broken English. They got a tremendous amount of sympathy with with everybody, with your white, well, I don't want to get cute. You're with your white people and with your Hispanics and blacks, everything. It crossed the line. I mean, it crossed every line. Where it wasn't me or Slaughter or somebody laying down Valentine or Ric Flair. It wasn't Roddy Piper. That was trying to sell tickets and talking, but it was it was a relatable baby face. I think these good guys, and it was a relatable baby face interview that that use the word common man could understand, could relate to. That not everybody spoke perfect English. Not everybody made perfect sense.
Was Jimmy friends with Fuji? Because I imagine they would have gone really well.
Kinda. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Fuji hated everybody. He was an equal. He was an equal
opportunity hater.
Yeah, he was an equal opportunity guy. There wasn't anybody I don't think that he didn't think was in the closet or something. He didn't have something to do with Fuji. Yeah, but for Fuji, if it's your friend, he's your friend too. But Fuji. He was a real samurai. You could see him, in the prison camp or something like that. He would have had a blast.
I always like, just because you told me it before, I have to bring it up. I always like the fact that he's got tons of hate and he was an equal opportunity hater, but he was a fan of 8 Mile starring Eminem.
Yeah, I never saw it, so I can't.
No, I had the soundtrack. I've never seen it, actually. I should see it. Just before I move off the interviews, did anything you say wind up Jimmy in real life?
No. I doubt he paid attention. I doubt he even listened to anything I was saying. I would, guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, then I'll move on. So I've heard it said before, and more than once, that more than Backlund, more than even Andre the Giant, that in 1983, you and Snuka carried the company. You were the 2 top draws. In maybe a biased opinion, I'm sure, asking one of the 2 people who I'm saying is the top draws, but what did you think?
Well, we were hot. We were super hot. I was the timing was right. They hated beach bums and Jimmy had the charisma and everything else. We were very hot. But it's we call it New York at the time because it was still New York. New York, they had a lot, those programs had a lot to offer. Backlund with his, homespun appearance and then your crazy Moondog, Wild Samoan, Japanese, Russian world tag team champions, Ayatollahs and stuff like that, all that kind of to carry the territory. If it didn't work, they probably could have, slipped something in. I'm sure we did great business. We did super business. But like I said, bro, I told Bruno, thanks, bro. I just, Rocca, before I came, Rocca was selling out everywhere. Rocca and these guys were, Rocca, all the buildings were full. And then when I came in, when Snuka came in, all the buildings, Hartford and Pittsburgh and, maybe not on as consistent a basis, but all these other, Philadelphia Spectrum Garden, all these buildings. The lowest garden I ever saw was coming out of WrestleMania 1 with me and Hulk. My first shot with Hulk. That was the and even that was half, 2/3 full, So yeah, but there was great business all over, So to be carrying the card, I don't know.
Well, you were the MVPs. You 2 were the MVPs.
Yeah. That no good Valentine with Backlund was that Greg Valentine. He and Backlund and later on Pedro, the Intercontinental thing, they were doing extraordinary business as well. So we were hot, and we carried our portion, I suppose. But
well, then I'll say it like this: then was for that brief period in those few months in '83, was the Intercontinental Championship more valuable and more of a draw in your hands than the world title was in Bob Backlund's?
Well, the focus, all the heat and everything was on me, and it was on Snuka and me, So I'm more valuable, The guys that were coming in, Mass Superstar, and all the other guys that are coming in to work with Backlund, they were getting main event pay as well. They were getting, I guess, I don't know, but I would imagine, they were getting, the main event salary that was the norm for the time, working with the champion.
Well, I'm sure I wrote this somewhere, and I can't find it for whatever reason. But were you getting main event pay on almost a par with Bob Backlund at that time? Then, when you were,
Well, I don't know about Bob Backlund because the champion had his own. The champions got their own percentages, their own. But as any main event, I was getting paid as well as any main eventer that wasn't on a contract or wasn't on a guarantee or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who were on guarantees, but the champion was a little different.
Because you mentioned this before, so I'll ask this again. So was actually this the genesis of you eating the sandwiches and the subs around this time? Or, for some reason, I thought this might have been in Florida where this started. Am I completely wrong there?
Well, I did it in Florida. I just play around with that match that I took the subway in was in Hamburg. We did Allentown, Hamburg, back to back, Tuesday, Wednesday nights with the TVs. That was when they were coming out. I was supposed to be going to the tag matches. Myself and Lou against Rogers and Jimmy, and like I say, eventually Rogers. And I tell you about Lou eating those lobster tails and eating the shirts and the rubber bands through his cheeks and the shirt and the pants and walking around the way he ate, his big belly and stuff all the time. My only thing was trying to say that I was under Uncle Lou, Captain Lou's training regiment, which included meatball subs, Coca-Colas and stuff like that. So I gave myself an incredible case. My two most famous moments in professional wrestling, Hall of Fame moments, getting squashed in the cage and eating a meatball sub.
How many times did you do
I'll
then?
take it.
How many times did you do it then? And did you ever choke?
What's that?
How many
I
times?
just one time. Oh no, a couple of times. Bristol Gary would catch me, and one time I did a couple of times. One time, they asked, somebody brought a box of Dunkin' Donuts or something, here, do one of the eating, do eating. So, most of the time like that, I did, you can't swallow 6 donuts, and I just keep it. I didn't want to swallow all those carbs and stuff. I was still trying to maintain. So I keep eating it, but I just keep chewing them, and eventually I have to, find a wastebasket or something, spit all the crap out.
Or Mean Gene's head.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember I was doing a thing in Hawaii here for a pizza place, and I just shoved the whole piece of, big piece of pizza down my, and the girl finishes, well, wait a second. I said, what do you mean, wait a second? I just stuffed the whole piece of pizza in my face. And, have your camera ready to go and stuff. I'm looking, I'm going to spit it out, keep spitting out pizza. Wasteful, it's just, Bonnie Muraco, my mom's just always, eat everything. People in Europe, after the war, she's a post-war. Kids are starving, so finish your plate.
Yeah, exactly. The baby boomers.
Catholic guilt. Yeah.
Right, so I've got to ask this. So when was the first time you did the sandwich eating thing in the ring? So it was Florida. What was the genesis of it?
No, Florida was just that's just being silly. Just I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat up the opponents or something. It's just in the promo moments in the back, at the ring area, we used to cut promos on the Wednesdays or whenever we cut the promos. Yeah, that was just it was fooling around, and then it seemed to seemed to cause interest, and then that was months or years later at Hamburg, that adventure with Lou. And that just was the thought. My thought being that Lou, being the type of person, his personality and stuff, that it would go down good. That out there being a slob, just two slobs, just in harmony.
It went down good, and Captain Lou went down good when he slipped on.
Oh yeah, he took a big bump on his ass. That's the hardest I saw Vince laugh in a long time.
And as far as I can tell, his humor is people falling down, people being pushed into pools, or like poo, like any poo joke, and he's happy.
Oh yeah.
Right, we're going to get to the main event of this in a minute. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions. Then we are going to review in live and in living colour the cage match with you versus Snuka, which you won.
Oh no!
But I've got to ask you a couple of things. So Jimmy was barefoot all the time. He said he used to break toes all the time. Did you ever break his toe or see him break a toe in a match?
No, I'm sure he did. Not that going over the top ropes, or he took a lot of crazy bumps. A lot of high. He's a high. So I'm sure he probably did. I remember his feet. Yeah, he had they had him take his shoes off. He had foot issues for a long time. I'm surprised, but it worked for him. That's not so much for anybody else.
And the first time that you had to take the Superfly splash, I mean, it's commonplace now to, do all these, high-flying things, but the first time you had to do the splash, were you, like, a bit reticent because he was a massive dude who was going to land on you?
He probably splashed me a few times after I was DQ'd or something in some other arenas or something. I don't remember. Not naturally. I remember the one off the top of the cage, but so I'm sure I took I took them before, and they were all off the top rope is kind of a breed. As he would land like a cat, on all fours. So and not that heavy. Coming down from the top of the cage is a little different timing, and a little more centrifugal force.
With was there any finishes or any moves out there that you just were never that keen to take because the risk was a bit high, or it just always hurt?
No, we weren't doing those. We were doing power bombs and stuff like back suplex, or I was the atomic drop where they lift you up and they drop you on your knee. I used to get my legs straight up in the air. I used to get high as a kite in those things and come down. And then first time I worked with Tony Atlas in the sold out Washington Cap Center, very black town, black city. So at Intercontinental, and he was coming from the Mr. USA, where they put him over for Mr. USA title. So I thought we were going up for one of those. He took me for one of those, and he lost, and I went boom, and I went straight back like a suplex. Oh shit, So after that, it was like my feet were nailed to the floor. Every time you watch some guy try and pick me up, and you go, oh my God, that poor guy just, he just threw his back out and his nuts just hit the mat. And I went to about 600 pounds. It was like trying to do that to Andre the Giant. I got to after I tried to, it was just a mental thing. Once you get burnt like that, you say, oh my God. I would try to get my feet up, and then there were times when I did get my, did go up. But the rest of it's like I had magnets in my boots, and I was stuck to the ground.
It sounds like wrestling's version of, I think they call it the yips in golf, where you just can't address the ball and you go, you just can't do it. Right, so we are going to watch the cage match in full. Oh, and by in full, I actually looked at it, it's 6 minutes 47, this match. I didn't realise how short it was. I've never seen it from beginning to end, so this will be a first for me as well. So I will do the technical stuff, and then we will be back in a second. Okay, here we are. We're in Madison Square Garden, September, we've blown the date already. October 17th, 1983. When was the last time you saw this?
It turns up from once in a while, every now and then on Facebook.
Can you hear this?
A couple months, 2-3 months ago.
Can you hear the sound?
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, the sound's going
I was
quite
standing
well.
back when we were back in the hallway back there. Danny DeVito
Oh,
came
really?
through. Yeah. I tried to hello. And he was kind of his head down. He took off. But Louis De Palma. He was on Taxi. He wasn't as big a star as he was.
Yeah.
Later, but before Arnold and stuff. He was.
I never got into Taxi.
Yeah.
It was slightly. It just felt slightly too long in the tooth for me. I never got into it. Was this the same night that what's the artist called? The pop artist, Andy. Not Wahlberg. I can't remember his name. The soup can guy.
Andy Kaufman?
No. Andy Warhol. Was that the same night that Andy Warhol was there?
See, I don't know. I didn't see him.
He was there at one point, but I think that was just after when Hulk Hogan turned up to flying here as well.
Could be, yeah.
Don Muraco is a surfing slob.
And they spelled my name wrong, yeah.
Did anybody, what were some of the common mispronunciations of Morocco, or did you ever have any?
No, it was all Morocco because of the country. But they never spelt it that way. There you go.
Snuka flies, Morocco dies. Snuka actually mentions that sign in his book that he loved. He loved it. There you go, there's Buddy Rogers. So he was there for a good few months.
Yeah, he was
then.
still there. When we came out of this, around, he was there, and then...
Who was that fella who stood at the curtain?
Was that Skolin? I don't know.
I don't think it was
Skolin.
I can actually just rewind this. There we go. Sorry, we're rewinding it now. The guy to the right, do you recognise him?
That's either a doctor or commissioner.
Check your blood pressure, check your prostate, $200, please.
Not even that.
Oh, we do it for cheaper.
Some, yeah. Well, I mean, check the prostate, check. A lot of them didn't even do the blood pressure. There's a few that would have loved to check the prostate, I'm sure. Look at that guy all ripped up, hadn't worked out in months.
You're about 12 foot in that ring at that point with the 15-foot high steel cage. I always love the hyperbole.
Oh, yeah, it gets higher and higher. Like football players, they go from 6'6" to 6'10", 350 or 400 pounds,
Good pair of shoes.
All your, yeah.
So I have to mention...
There's Mel Phillips.
Oh, yep. Another honest citizen. He would have checked your prostate for free.
Remember, we go from PG to R once you get Mel in there.
Yeah. I just said before, he would have been one of the prostate checkers.
Yeah.
Age depending, I'm sure.
Or a volunteer to get his checked.
I have to bring up at this point, so Mick Foley, Tommy Dreamer, Bubba Ray Dudley, and ECW's Little Guido was in attendance for this. So this match, they will credit as inspiring all of them to get into the ring.
You guys have told me that, yeah.
Do you know, I was going to show... I decided not to show the pre-match interviews, but, you should really hunt them out because they are really good because you are so cocky and laid back. It's like the most laid back and cocky you will probably ever be.
No rules, absolutely none whatsoever, no referees. Referees' only job is to open and close the door to the steel cage.
So this is the third of three, isn't it, of the Snuka singles matches. What happened in the other two now? So I know the first one was double DQ, the second one was count out. But how did the other two go? time-wise?
They're pretty much the same. We got to, just fighting all over the ring and the arena. They sent the guys out to pull us apart. And that's the reason for the cage, is to go in there and trying to kill yourself.
Aha, that was a big chop. I wonder where, especially in the old days, they found a manufacturer for cages.
Every territory had one. They had their own Bo Belinsky to build it.
He was AWA, wasn't he, Bo Belinsky?
Yeah, he
I
was
remember. So how much? It's not like these days where everybody has to agonise over every move they do for 6 hours beforehand. I mean, how much conversing was there at all before going out into the ring that night?
Not a whole lot. Just Vince came and
Would
want you to keep the belt. Oh my God! Well, I just said, what? The reason everybody's buying a ticket here.
Did you ever wrestle in the big blue cage?
Oh no. I was only in another Madison Square Garden cage after this with Hulk later. I don't think Steamboat and I went in any cages.
Now, did you do a strap match with Steamboat?
I did a bunch of judo jackets and karate matches and Texas death match. I don't know. Lights out.
You didn't break out the cage though.
I did all kinds of possibly possibly a cage there.
Derek, just watching this, is like, man, goddamn, you were flopping around like crazy in there. I mean, you couldn't be doing more to make Snuka look great.
Snuka had ideas about going over the top, Pat, in as bad a shape as he is. Muraco once again bangs his head into the top of the steel cage.
So, were there any cage matches that you'd done previously that you either or had even seen that you took inspiration from and said, "Oh, I've got to steal that to use in this," or what do you think?
I don't know if you steal it. I remember I had a hell of a match with Ivan Koloff. And I've had other matches, other cages before that, but Ivan's the one that really comes to mind. I was a baby there.
Yeah,
he was driving the bus.
Who was sort of the master of the cage match? Who knew how to sort of work the cage better than anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know. Dusty was in a lot of them. Patterson was probably the guys that had Ray, Pat, the guys that had good timing.
Where does Snuka rank on the sort of list of, super snug to incredibly light?
Never knew he was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Almost a full headstand there.
Yeah, except for the chops and stuff, and he was never around. Yeah, he was light as a feather.
You're too into this match, aren't you? You're bang into this match, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I hadn't seen it for a while.
Man, I'll tell you what. I mean, Snuka's obviously really strong, but like he just whipped you up for that body slam. Gorilla Monsoon doing the commentary that we're talking
Yeah,
over.
Pat.
Obviously.
There must be Pat there. Or is that BR? The blonde guy, anyway.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at him. I'm looking. I don't know.
Yeah. Must be Pat.
No, I still say Gorilla Monsoon's one of the greatest commentators. He was
Oh,
just the
yeah.
voice of my early wrestling childhood.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Pat Patterson was not one of the commentators of my early childhood. He was not quite as good.
That's French. You need your French dictionary.
There it is.
Oh no.
Good, handsome belt as well, man.
Is that the red one?
No, it's the green one. I think it's the green one.
Oh,
that,
the new one.
Yeah, that Tito ended up throwing out.
Yeah.
So also, apart from all these like future wrestling luminaries, Snuka's entire family was in the crowd. He never told his mother that he was going to be diving over the spoiler alert, everybody, that Snuka was going to be diving over the cage. If you don't know it by now, you
I never knew that. I never knew his mother.
Yeah, his daughter there was there as well, and she really hated you because she really, she hated you for killing Jimmy, basically. For just beating on Jimmy.
She watched
was
the
really
match?
upset. Yeah, she was in the audience.
No, I mean, see, he was getting killed there.
Oh. Maybe a bad choice of words on my part.
Nah, just 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Oh no! Don't tell me we missed the dive. Oh, here we go.
So this isn't the first time that Jimmy's done this either. Apparently he did it in Portland, and he also did it with Backlund, but in the Backlund one he missed.
Yeah, I did with Backlund, but missed. Yeah.
How much convincing did it take for you to stay there?
No, it had to be done. It wasn't, it was a little hard. It was a little snug, but the only thing is, his knee caught me right in my the inside of my upper part of my thigh there. It's the only thing I had out of it. That was painful.
Yeah,
A couple. If I bend over, I couldn't stop myself. I just keep going on to.
Or just do a full roll.
Well, I just flat on my, I catch myself. I fell down, but yeah, it was.
So basically, you got a knee in the leg. That wasn't like part of like a groin strain or anything, was it? Later on down the line.
No, groin came later. 3-4 years later.
Oh, there we go. And that is Mean Gene. In obviously a retrospective, I need to stop the sharing. There we go, and we're back. So yeah, there you go. God, I can't believe how short the match is. I would have thought, for like a big blow-off match like that, you'd be, it'd be like 18, 20 minutes. But I mean, what was the decision to keep it short?
At that point, we're just, there's pretty much just a dogfight. We're gonna settle into headlocks or arm drags and stuff like that. No, scientific. We've done 2 pull-aparts previously, so that we kind of just let it go. One of those,
You
pillar
said
to post.
you said that you were really pleased with your back bump outside the cage. In a previous podcast, actually, you mentioned that.
Yeah, a little backflip over the top rope there.
This might just me being a more modern wrestling fan, but did you ever have to practice anything like a back bump outside the cage for that one specific incident?
No, never done it before. Done it since. I don't think. Not over the top rope. I used to, be punch drunk and stagger out backwards between the second and third rope, and did a lot of other back. Over top rope things, but never, flying backwards over the top rope. But I had the cage to bounce, to catch and stop me from going into the third row,
Yeah. Was the chain link fence how much give did it have? I imagine it looked fairly, you wouldn't hurt yourself too badly on it.
Yeah, it was, workable. You could work with it.
Yeah.
It was,
That's why I asked you if you'd ever work like,
that's why I made the run
big
for the
blue
cage earlier. I made a move for the cage earlier so they would, give them a reason to unlock the cage and then start again. And then, so it was, when I went, it was like the cage had, there was a reason that it wasn't, had locked at the time.
So apart from obviously the big splash and the big rolling backwards out the cage, was everything else just improvised?
Yeah, pretty well. We've been working together for a while by then. We've been around third time there in the garden, and so we've been probably once or twice all around the around the horn, all the other markets by then. So there wasn't a lot to get down. Just that how I was going to win the match. That was the only curiosity about how we're going to pull that off.
I think
I figured I could bounce off the ropes and kind of pinball my way out of the ring.
I think basically, like, one of the biggest tributes you can give to that match is that cage match, Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man, Shawn Michaels, Razor, WrestleMania 10 in 1994. They're probably like the three most famous and maybe the three most important intercontinental championship matches there may ever be. So that's certainly, a huge compliment to the match and the feud and both of you guys as well.
They were good times. Things are good. It was fun. It was fun working then because it was pre McMahon Jr. and that machine. And so you still had a little bit of creativity left, in your work, and you're still able to, to put together other things. At that point I was working with Jimmy a lot, but up until then, I was, working with a lot of different guys. Atlas and Snuka, or whoever, Rocky Johnson and Backlund, and a lot of good guys I was in the ring with.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and we're going to be talking about Jimmy and throughout the weeks more of those great guys that you're in the ring with. But for now, I'm going to shut down this podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, it is up to Don whether we do Jimmy Snuka Part 2, where we talk about post-cage and everything that you expect us to talk about, we'll talk about, or we do Ask Muraco Anything 6. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll come back with whatever we decide next week. But for now, the plugs again, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, the usual. DonTheRockMorocco.com for all your signed merchandise. And I will thank you once again, Don, for entertaining us once again this week. Cheers.
I like this shirt so much I may have it on next week.
That's the spirit. Don't spoil the secrets of showbiz.
No, I won't even watch it.
The sense of an intercontinental champion. Thank you for joining us.